Peña Nieto had called him and said, "No, you're doing great things with immigration." And then Huckabee walked. Well, those weren't actually. Once it was revealed that there are no records of these phone calls, everyone at the top of the Boy Scouts said, "Nope, didn't do it." Peña Nieto, no, we have not had any telephone conversations with the president. Oh, well, did we say phone calls? No, those were in-person conversations. Mm-hmm. And, I made the joke this week on social media that asking if Sarah Huckabee Sanders' Fitbit counts the steps she takes when she walks back everything that Trump says, because she's going to be the fittest motherfucker in Washington, D.C. by the time she gets out of that job.
She needs it.
Oh.
What's with the lashes? What's with that?
What?
The big.
Well, didn't the mooch give her a makeover?
Well, no, he complimented, said, "Hey, the hair and makeup people you're using, you got to keep them. Hey,
yeah, that's nice. Push up bra, honey.
Hey,
push those puppies up where we."
And I don't remember if this was 2 weeks ago or a little bit longer, but Sarah Huckabee Sanders mentioned that she is the first mother to hold the job as press secretary, and so.
She has spawn? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So just by virtue of that,
yeah.
Donald Trump is doing more for
women.
I don't see her as a mother primarily, though. I see her as dog killer.
Damn.
Because Huckabee's son killed a dog at scout camp. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Google Huckabee dog killer. Sometimes you just can't get squirrel, I guess. But it's like, no. If you look at everything else he's doing, this is not indicative of his stance on women. This is indicative of his stance on the sisters of dog killers.
Yeah.
I think it speaks intellectually handicapped these people seem to be, because how can she say, "Oh, he's doing a lot for women"? Because look, and it's not just her. Like other conservatives are like, "Oh yeah, her and Kellyanne Conway." Wow, I'm like, yeah, too. Do you realize how many women there are in this country, and that the policies affect millions of women, and that those policies,
and that these two women specifically are working against the policies that are in place to benefit women.
What does Kellyanne Conway's husband do?
He's a lawyer who. I forget which government agency he is currently working for, but he's a Washington player. He is one of the I guess you could call them swamp denizens. That when Trump was talking about draining the swamp, that would be Kellyanne's husband would be part of that. Of course, as we've seen, Trump is not about draining the swamp in the conventional.
That on top of thawing her out of the deep freeze every morning so she can go back to work and filing her talons.
Cleaning her coffin when she's not in it, sleeping.
What were you going to say, darling?
I forgot.
You.
I don't know.
But I think one function of these specific leaks with these phone calls, we talk. God, every week on this show about the 30% of the population, Trump's base, that will not be eroded. And I think, in my opinion, the goal of the people who are leaking stuff like this is to try and break through to these people, to how much reality do we have to shove in your face before you realize that, quote unquote, your guy is not your guy. I'm waiting for them to still, bring up the old, hey, I know he's not president anymore, but Obama's still coming for your guns. Haven't heard much from him. He's been on vacation, right? That's what you think.
On it. Yeah.
He's working on coming for your guns.
And, they still would, a lot of them probably would like to have a white dude in the office that makes them feel good. Some of this might not even be, they just would like to have someone they relate to in the office.
Well, it's
waiting for Kamala Harris.
Yeah. or Maxine Waters.
I
don't know. I might be hoping for a plain old I don't care. I'm we can leave all the social justice and progress for the next time when we're not running against a crazy person.
Let's have Al Franken.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I would love that. I not.
I think after this we're going to need a comedy.
A lot of people. When Hillary was running, we're saying no. It's time. For a woman to office, And there were a lot of people who said, well, yeah, not that woman. And conversely, I think if we are going to have a Jewish president, yeah, Bernie Sanders would be nice, but I would love for Al Franken to be the first Jewish president, as an American, as a liberal,
and
as a Jew, and as a comedian. Yeah, well, and
cosmopolitan.
You're being very cosmopolitan this morning, Doctor.
That's how I roll. And if you turn to page 46 of me, you can find out the sex secrets that'll help you keep your man. That's how cosmopolitan I am. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Really? I'm not surprised
better.
the magazine is around. I'm surprised Helen Gurley Brown is still around.
They're going to just retitle that magazine Jews Magazine with beauty tips for everyone.
Page 76, Shicksas are people too.
I'm writing that article.
And I think that's it's a good segue to get us on to our next steaming pile of what conversation. Stephen Miller.
Ah, yes.
Back when we were still
like an eagle till I'm free.
So I was mentioning when we were talking before the show, Republicans are just wreaking havoc on the long-standing tradition of classic rock. It was a few years ago we had Joe Walsh, Representative good Joe Walsh, yelling "You lie" at President Obama during a State of the Union address. Now you got Stephen Miller, not the good Steve Miller, but the White House operative, ruining the good name of Steve Miller. But yeah, Steve Miller, if you missed it this week, I guess accosted Jim Acosta from CNN. But the thing that I thought was very interesting was that Steve Miller, so as to avoid confusion, called Acosta cosmopolitan, which for those of us who have been on the receiving side of things like that over the years, and for linguists, we all recognize that as a dog whistle. It's a word that has been used against us intellectual Jews, or not even Jews. And for Acosta, for Stephen Miller to call Jim Acosta, the son of Cuban immigrants, cosmopolitan, that would be like me calling Tymon a kike. What? It makes no sense unless I, as the hypothetical self-hating nation, am trying to prove to all the Nazis on Reddit that no, I realize I'm born and was raised Jewish, but I'm one of you guys.
Yeah.
Which, that's the kind of cry that people like Stephen Miller are going to be yelling all the way into the oven. But I'm one of you. I'm one of you. Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
It astounds me. Back when we were doing the Cause Effect, the attempt at a round table across the political spectrum of comedians,
which utterly failed.
Well, it was a good idea. It was tough to find a sane conservative or even someone who's like, it might be, which tenable hold, but still a grasp on reality. One of the other panelists who is Jewish called me a self-hating Jew, and those are two things that are absolutely true, but they have nothing to do with each other. I am Jewish. I am self-hating, but I am not a self-hating Jew. It's different. And backtracking on our conversation a little bit here, I need to find it again. I think it was in Politico. When I find it, I'll post it on the Let's Be Treasonable Facebook page. But talking about Jeff Sessions' press conference, when he talked about the Department of Justice cracking down on leakers and cracking down on the media, he referenced 4 people that they've already busted, 3 of whom could conceivably be seen as taking actions that are against the interests of America, and 1 journalist. And by bringing the journalist into that mix, basically Sessions is trying to conflate spies and anti-American people with journalists.
Yeah.
And if he can keep
Absolutely.
selling, this idea that Trump and the whole administration have been selling, that the media are the enemy. Well, then it's once people are buying that en masse, for them to say, well, yeah, we should be jailing the journalists.
Yeah. I mean, all of this is just a textbook approach. I know that Venezuela is on our list to talk about, but, if don't recognize the signs, in case you haven't read the Brilliant on Tyranny book, in case you haven't been a student of history, all you need to do is look at Venezuela, look at Turkey, look at what's happening in these other places and see the parallels. I mean, that is what they are doing, and in not a subtle way.
Yeah, Venezuela, as I mentioned when we were talking about it before the show, Venezuela is like what's the worst case of Trump becoming president? And that's Venezuela.
Yeah.
If we look at what's happening down there right now with Maduro taking power, it came out this week that there was apparently fraud with the vote. There were over 1 million votes claimed that the voting machines can't seem to find. They're jailing the opposition.
Yep.
They're cracking down on journalists, and these people are these are the left wingers.
They're starving their population so that people are rendered inert by hunger. That's literally a power play.
Yeah, well, it's hard.
Part of that is also the fact that their version of socialism doesn't work, so they don't have the food. That's a big part
it's
of
not.
it.
Yeah,
They just
I know.
Don't have it.
But literally, what is a starving population going to do? They're not going to. It's hard to be political when you're trying to just put some food in your kids' mouths.
Yeah.
No, isn't Venezuela known for their oil?
Yeah,
oil
Yes.
capacity there?
Largest. I think they're sitting on the world's largest reserves, or if not the world, in this hemisphere.
And there lies also your problem, because everybody, they know there's some control there, and the guys who are in power right now want to collect that money off because they're going to sell it off eventually to who the highest bidders are. We know that there's that problem there with oil. I mean, that was the big thing with Chavez, is because he did not want to negotiate with the United States and whatever and everybody. And the United States, okay, you're not going to play ball. We're not going to play ball with you. And so they started.
Well, the OPEC countries, looked at their reserves, and they wound up lowering the price of oil drastically, and that hit Venezuela like right in the couillons, So
you can't have a top-down economy. That's just not how economies work.
Wait, trickle down doesn't work?
You can't control an economy and design it from the top down. Yeah, turns out.
Weird.
That's different from trickle down. Trickle down's
I think that what Venezuela is facing is the same thing that the United States, the whole world is facing, which is sort of the end of the petroleum-based economy, and that's going to be a really intense global shift. And the way,
Well, but there are some people who are fighting that tooth and nail. For instance, our president, who told the UN this week that America is pulling out of the Paris Accords.
But these are like these strong-arm tactics. And, of course, Trump's commitment to bring coal back, which is like that horse left the barn and the barn burned.
But that fire was powered by coal.
But that's true.
But Trump and
horse manure.
Maduro and a lot of populists have the same misconception, which is that you can have any control at all over an economy, but the forces that dictate what businesses fail and survive, like they're completely born of the masses. They're like spontaneous order. They just happen. They're like ocean currents, And so Trump is just ignorant. Like, if he knew the first thing about economics, he would be like, oh yeah, we can't bring coal back. It's gone. Like, because you don't interfere with the economy, which is why I'm still so surprised that conservatives have supported him at all. Because if they were true fiscal conservatives, if they were true classical liberal thinking economists, they would be like, oh, we don't interfere with the economy. We let it happen. We just let go and let be. And they would let coal die, and they would let whatever else take
renewable
its place.
Energy take its place.
Although, renewables, we've had our hand in helping boost them too. But there's been a reason behind that. Like, I'm not saying I'm for completely letting the economy be by itself. either. Like, that's not my
Yeah,
stance.
no, you got to
Like,
nudge. You got to
nudge it in
push.
the right direction. But
I would
yeah,
wonder
I
what
think I made my
what
point.
the game plan would be in order to negotiate with